Alright, so we got the suspension on there and the axle links. Now let's go ahead and let's move on to a harder part of the build, which is the axles themselves. So let's go ahead and put these axles together. Now I'm going to go ahead and take that screw out right there so I can take the plastic drive shaft off and this silver colored metal pinion right here, because I'm going to be using these ones right here, but I'm going to be using this plastic housing right here. So if you buy this kit that comes with metal this colored, there's nothing wrong with this one. This metal is still good. I just like everything to mesh well, so I'm going to use everything from this bag so hopefully everything meshes well and goes together well. And that way we don't have a different kind of metal grinding onto a different kind of metal and making one wear faster than the other. That's the only reason why I'm going to do that. And pretty much when I bought my kit when it was new, it didn't have any metal stuff in it. Even these were plastic at the time. Or actually no, these were already metal too when I bought mine, but the actual ring gear was plastic. And I had to buy an upgrade kit that came with this one right here, and these have been really reliable to me, so I stick with these ones usually. So yeah, this is where I can see them saving some money, you know, with the kit, if they decide to make it ready to run, you know, run that RC ready to run, is they can put plastic axle housings. Nothing bad with them. I actually like them because they slide really well on rocks. The plastic is a lot more slippery than metal. Usually when the metal gets all marred up and stuff right here, it actually creates a hang-up point because it gets really tough to slide on stuff. So yeah, plastic it is for this one because that's what I still run on my favorite C24 kit that I built originally. And here's a picture of that just in case you guys don't know what I'm talking about. And I have tons of videos on these things, guys. So if you guys are WPL fans or you guys are just starting out with WPL stuff, check out my content. I have a lot of WPL stuff. There's nothing wrong with these little guys. They'll get you into the hobby with very little amount of money and also get you thinking and get you problem solving. So that way, when you're in this hobby and fixing all those better, more expensive kits or whatever you want to call them, you'll have an easier time because this kit will teach you a lot of stuff. So yeah, let's get to this axle building real quick. Not the hardest axles to build. We're going to need this. And we're going to need these. And then we're going to need whichever bag has the grub screws, which I think is this one right here. So there's grub screws in this bag. For these guys right here, you're going to need grub screws for this. And you're going to need grub screws for these guys. Let's go ahead and build the rear axle. What's going to be this longer one right here of the two shafts that's included right here. What I like to do is just sit it in there so that way you can see which side that groove is right there where the grub screw is going to have to sit, just to see that it's in the right place. So this looks like that's going to be where it's going to sit, and then this gear is going to go on here like so, sitting there with the grub screw on the flat spot. And then you're going to do that with these outer ones right here as well. You're going to install that on here and grub screw on the flat spot. And you're going to want to use some Loctite, which now they're providing the blue Loctite, which is good because that red one they provided was impossible to get back off once you put it on. So just a little drop of that on the tip of the screw on the threads and off you go. Oh, and here you go. I almost forgot to mention. So as you can tell right here, I have bearings installed right here, right here, right here, and right here. So you're going to need those bearings there. That's going to be in place of the bushings from the plastic kit, if you do have a plastic kit that you're building and you're watching this. But yeah, that's where the bearings go right there. And I forgot to mention that before you put these on right here, because once you put these on right here and lock them in place, you can't put those bearings on anymore. So you're going to have to do that before you do put these ends on. So I just wanted to show that before I get this all buttoned up and show you what it looks like. Now don't tighten it up all the way right away, but you're going to have to do this real quick before that dries up. So get all the grub screws on all the sides right there and try to get all this as centered as possible so you have as much showing on this side as you do on this side when it's done. So that way the assembly will be even on both sides. Once you attach the wheels, you won't have one wheel sticking out further than the other wheel. Alright, so as you can tell right here, I have everything lined up where I want it to be. I have enough shaft showing on both sides right there. So yeah, and everything obviously is going to spin freely right now because there's nothing attached to it. So let's go ahead and continue assembling this right here. You just need the other half right here to complete this. And that just goes on there and snaps in place like so. Well, there you go. Now time to get the pinion gear on there. Now if you can tell right here, WPL is awesome and they include some gaskets right here. There's a couple of them right here. So you can change the thickness of the distance between the ring and pinion in the diff. But you know what? I have never used anything like this, and I have yet to have any issues with any of my WPLs, and I guess I've just been lucky, I don't know. But I do have a ton of WPLs, so for me to get lucky that many times and not to experience too much binding in my drive shafts, I must be doing something different from other people, and I don't know what it is. So yeah, we're going to get 2 more of our small bearings, like this size right here. The same size bearings we used on the axle shafts inside this right here. And then you're going to put one onto this shaft right here and put that in to the housing, and then the other one goes on the back right there. So I'm going to leave that one that goes on the back out for now, because it is just going to pop right back out unless you put some grease on it and then put it on there when you're actually doing your own assembly. Now when I'm assembling all this stuff right here, that whole axle you see in there, the whole metal shaft that's in there, I would actually put marine grease on all of that. And then once I'm done assembling it and assembling this onto that, then I'll pack the gear itself with more marine grease just to keep it waterproof whenever I run in water. So when I take it all apart, I'm not going in there to see rust. So on all those bearings you see in there and everything, I just, you know, lube them up, get like a handful of marine grease, get the bearing, and just, you know, marine grease the heck out of these bearings. Try to push some grease inside the bearings if you can, because these aren't sealed bearings. But yeah, that's what I do pretty much, and I've usually opened up these axles after tons of water runs and letting it sit for a while and not experienced much rusting in there whatsoever because of doing that. Now that I have this on here, this is just going to have to go on the axle like so. Obviously you can tell right here the ring gear is to one side, so that one side that the ring gear is facing on right there is going to be where you want this open side right here, so it'll mesh properly, because if you put it on this way, then you're just going to bind it. It's not even going to go on. There you go. So you can tell I click that on there. Now these longer screws right here that are in that plastic bag are what you're going to be using to button this up right here. As you can tell, the length of that screw is proper for that. They used to provide longer screws than this, but it looks like this is the only screw they provide now as their longest screw. But I used to like to use their other one that's a little bit longer than this, and I make myself a little mod from the axle to give it myself a little axle lift. But yeah, this is what they provide now. So this is going to be for installing your axle, and also for putting all 4 of the bolts on this on. And for these guys right here, I just snug them up. I don't, you know, these are not like fully tightened on there. Just snug so it closes the gap in between all 3 of those surfaces. So that way you can still get some pretty nice spinning axle right here. Now there's no grease in here, so you'll hear some noise, but it's free spinning. There's no binding whatsoever on that axle. So yeah, I'm just, like I said, I'm just assembling this without any grease because I don't want to get my hands all greasy for this video, and I want to get this all together. And afterwards, I'll go ahead and pack this up with grease and stuff after it's all assembled, and before I send it out to you lucky person that's going to get this cool little first edition Run That RC ready to run and to give away for my 10,000 subscriber giveaway. Alright, building the fronts is pretty similar. You're just going to need that shorter shaft. Then you're going to need to install this on here. Make sure you have that all on correctly, which it looks like I don't. So let's flip that around. There you go. Yeah, this one right here is the U-joint style versus the dog bone style I had on the original metal kit that I installed. So that just goes on here. Now when you install these guys right here, you got to make sure you have to have this as centered as possible, so you have the same amount of protrusion of this shaft on both sides, so you can install this without having to push this in way in there, and then you're going to get binding. And don't forget the bearings that go in here before this goes on. So once I get everything situated for the front like this, I install the top half first. Like so. And once I press that on, now I install the outer one, so that way I know it's not going to bind. So yeah, now that we have this all finished right here, and don't forget these ends right here, you might have to loosen those up again, these ones right here, because you might have to move this outwards or inwards, depending on if you're going to have any steering binding once we put our steering C-hubs on here. Then after that, we can put the pinion gear in here and get this fully assembled, and then we can get these on the chassis. Alright guys, there's another part of the build right there done, so yeah, stay tuned for the next part of this build. And for now, be safe out there guys, and as always, go have fun and run that RC.